Before we get into this video, I just want to say all praises to the Most High. So what we're going to be talking about in this video is how David, instead of the Jesus of the New Testament, is mentioned as the ruler who will reign in the new kingdom. This is something that has been clearly written in the Old Testaments all throughout it. Okay, we got multiple prophets saying this, but many teachers, they actually ignore this, okay, because it doesn't line up with what has been written in the New Testament. It actually contradicts it. And a lot of these teachers will try to tell you that this doesn't contradict the New Testament when it actually does. But many people, they just don't want to go against popular teachings, and this includes teachers, because for many teachers, it's about getting a big following and getting that following to give you money. So if you want to have a big following and keep that following, you're not going to say things that offend them or make them uncomfortable, and you don't say controversial things such as what you're going to see in this video, because most people, they don't want to be uncomfortable and they do not want to be offended. Okay, so people who teach New Testament are uncomfortable with lessons such as this, because it basically breaks down the foundation of what they are trying to teach you and what's been written in the New Testament. But what you'll see is videos and lessons that they come up with where they try to do damage control and change what is written in the Old Testament because of wanting to get your money, and also because of pride. Because they'll see clearly what has been written in the Old Testament, like you'll see today, and they will try to go in and change what has been said in the Old Testament. Just like how we're going to be talking about how David is the ruler that will reign in the new kingdom, they will try to change that, literally change what has been written in the Old Testament and say that that's talking about the Jesus of the New Testament. One thing to keep in mind is this is not about age. Okay, I'm 18, but you have people who have been teaching falsehoods for a lifetime. And this, let's say, for example, in Christianity, and teaching all these falsehoods in Christianity. Okay, so this isn't just a Christianity thing, of course. This can happen with Israelites too. And also, this is no disrespect to adults, but deception can come from people who are older as well. So, and also it can come from Israelites, and even within your Bible that you're reading. And we'll see that as we go into the Old Testament. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off in Jeremiah chapter 30. We're going to go to verse 7. We'll see clearly how David is this ruler who reigned in the new kingdom. Jeremiah 30 verse 7. It says, "For alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahuwah of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him." So this point right here where it's talking about strangers shall no more serve themselves of him, because this him is referring to Israel, and it's saying that strangers are no more going to serve themselves of Israel. This right now has not come to fruition. Okay, this has not happened yet. So the strangers, when you look at this verse, you can see that the strangers are not going to be over Israel at this point in time. So what we can see from this scripture is that this is actually a future prophecy. Okay, so this is something that's not happened yet. So let's go to verse 9. It says, "But they shall serve Yahuwah their Elohim, and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them." David is this king who will reign in the new kingdom, because this is talking about a period that has not happened yet, a point in time that has not happened yet, and because you have the strangers that are not going to be ruling over Israel at this point in time. That's when the Most High comes and gathers Israel, because he says it's talking about Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And he's going to break the yoke from off of Israel's neck. So David is this king who will be reigning in the new kingdom when Israel is redeemed and is saved by the Most High. And let's go to another verse. So we were in Jeremiah here. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 34, and we're going to go to verse 22. Ezekiel 34 verse 22. It says, "Therefore will I save my flock." Who is the Most High's flock? This is talking about Israel. "And they shall no more be a prey. Israel was a prey to the other nations. And I will judge between cattle and cattle, and I'll set up one shepherd over them, and he shall feed them, even my servant David. He shall feed them, and he shall be their shepherd. So if this was trying to refer to the Jesus of the New Testament, saying that he was going to be this shepherd right here, then Most High could have easily said that right here. He could say, even my servant Jesus. But the thing, what we have here, and let's keep in mind this context again, the Most High said he's going to save his flock, and they're not going to be a prey anymore. This is talking about a future time period. And so again, it says that David is going to be this shepherd. He shall feed them, and he shall be their shepherd. And I, Yahuwah, will be their Elohim, and David, my servant David, a prince among them. I, Yahuwah, have spoken it. So right here again is saying that David is this prince or ruler who's going to be reigning in the new kingdom. It mentions his name twice. If this was something that was referring to a descendant of David, all it had to do was say that there was going to be a root that would come out of David, a child that would come from David's lineage. It could have easily done that. So, but it doesn't, which lets us know that this is talking about David, who's going to be this prince in the new kingdom. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 37. Ezekiel 37. We're going to go to verse 21. It says, and say unto them, thus saith the Master Elohim, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. So this again is talking about a future time period where the children of Israel are gathered by the Most High. Let's look at verse 22. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. Israel at a certain time in history was divided into two kingdoms. Well, at first they were one kingdom, so you had the 12 tribes of Israel. Then they were split into two kingdoms. There was a northern and southern kingdom. The northern kingdom was called Israel. The southern kingdom was called Judah. So with Judah, you had Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Those were the tribes within that kingdom, that southern kingdom. And in the northern kingdom called Israel, you had the rest of the tribes, but you also had a little bit of Levi in there too. So Israel and Judah, they have not been joined together as being one full nation in the land of Israel ever. Okay, since that time period. So this is a future prophecy of something that has not happened yet. So let's go and keep on reading. Verse 23 says, neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. This has not happened yet. But I will save them out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their Elohim. There it is again. And David my servant shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd. They shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. David my servant is going to be this king in the new kingdom. So David is this king who will be reigning in the new kingdom. So it's saying this throughout the Old Testament. Notice how you don't see in any of these examples it mentioning David's descendant or the Jesus of the New Testament. Okay, let's go to verse 25. Let's see if it'll mention it again. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt. And they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. So right here is saying that David is going to be this prince. It says it all throughout the Old Testament, as you can see throughout these verses. And not any of these scriptures, you won't see it say the New Testament Jesus. It's saying David. Let's go to the last prophecy that we're going to read about this ruler in the new kingdom. We're going to go to Hosea chapter 3. We're going to look at verse 4. It says, for the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king and without a prince and without a sacrifice and without an image, and without an ephod, and without teraphim. So we have here this referring to a future prophecy. This is really something that's happening as we speak, because Israel has not had a king, a prince, sacrifice, image, an ephod, teraphim in a long time. So this is something that's happening now. Now it says, afterward shall the children of Israel return. Letting you know that this is a future prophecy. The children of Israel have not returned yet. So it says, afterward the children of Israel are going to return and seek Yahuwah their Elohim and David their king, and shall fear Yahuwah and his goodness in the latter days. This is a future prophecy of something happening in the latter days. So it says they're going to seek Yahuwah their Elohim and David their king. David is this ruler who will reign in the new kingdom. So some people, when they look at this, may say, well, this David is referring to the Jesus of the New Testament. Well, right here, if it were to do that, all you had to do was say that this was one of David's descendants. It could have easily have said that. It could have said there would be a descendant of David that would be this ruler, but it doesn't. Let's see an example of, and really, because we're actually going to see an example of a child being basically prophesied of being born who would be a descendant of David. And it also mentions that child's name, because another thing too, you won't see the name of the Jesus of the New Testament being mentioned at all throughout the Old Testament. Okay, it never mentions his name as referring to him. So what we see here is they're actually referring to David. But let's go to this next verse. We're going to go to 1 Kings chapter 13. We're going to take a look at verse 1. It says, and behold, there came a man of Elohim out of Judah by the word of Yahuwah unto Bethel. And Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar in the word of Yahuwah and said, O altar, altar, thus saith Yahuwah, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name. And upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. This is a prophecy. It says there came a man of Elohim out of Judah. This was a prophecy that was happening. It says, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David. It doesn't say there is going to be, it doesn't say that, David, my servant, would be this child. It says there is going to be a child born unto the house of David. It could have easily have done this, like we see here, with what we can see in the prophecies referring to David being this ruler. And notice how it even mentions the child's name. It says Josiah by name. This, again, could have easily have happened with these prophecies. It could have said Jesus by name, but it doesn't, which lets us know that it wasn't referring to the Jesus of the New Testament. But right here, this is a clear example of how the Most High can prophesy of a child who will be born in the future and say that this child is not going to be called, he doesn't call this child David, but he says that there's going to be a child born unto the house of David. Okay, that's the key right there. The child will be born unto the house of David. When we go in here, it says David their king. It doesn't say the child from the house of David like we see in here. Okay, so as we can see clearly throughout the Old Testament, in the 4 prophecies that we went to, David was mentioned as this ruler who would reign in the new kingdom, and not the Jesus of the New Testament. You won't find any scriptures in the Old Testament where it mentions the New Testament Jesus at all. It doesn't mention him by any other names that people call him, like when they try to make a Hebrew name for him, such as Yahawashai, Yeshua, Yahushua, or Yahushua. So what we can see is that the New Testament is actually changing what the Old Testament says, because what you'll find in the New Testament is that it interprets those prophecies as referring to the New Testament Jesus, of course. And we see clearly that it is referring to David and not a descendant of David or anyone other than David. So the New Testament is saying that Jesus will be this ruler, while the Old Testament is saying that David will be this ruler. Since we know that the Old Testament was written first, we can see that, and this was prophecies that came straight from the Most High. We can see that according to the Most High's word, David would be this ruler to reign in the new kingdom and not the New Testament Jesus. Shalom.